Hello, Anne. How are you?
Hi, Police. I'm fine, thank you.
Sorry, we couldn't manage on Facebook. It seems that we haven't been friends for long enough
Okay.
for Facebook to allow us to have a live together.
Okay.
But Instagram does allow us. So it's great that we have this opportunity to do this live.
Yes, Facebook was not our friend today.
Yeah. So the past couple of days, my friends were asking me, "Who are you?" So I said, "Well, watch the live and you will learn." Uh,
Okay.
and let me start by saying that we recently got to know each other just a couple of months ago by joining an amazing group, Betterment. So I have to thank Anna Paula and Hicham for this. And I took this opportunity to have this live because you had an interesting talk that you shared within the group a couple of weeks ago, which was the relationship we have with ourselves. And you are an expert on well-being for women, helping them with fertility issues, where sometimes they don't know exactly what's going wrong. They visit the doctor and they hit a dead end, and then they need to explore some other options. So that's where you intervene. You are from Portugal, but you work internationally and you help women, you inspire women. And you gave this talk that you shared about relationships. First thing is that we all have relationships. And the first relationship we have is within ourselves. And within this framework, we either react to what's going on around us or we take action. So let's begin with this. I want you to break it down for us a bit.
Amazing. Thank you. First of all, thank you very much, Police, for taking the time and also opening your space for that conversation. So I'm so happy because I shared that talk with women, right? Mainly, we had women there present in that group. But with you, we can have a different lens, right? I can bring what I see in women, and you can also bring what you see in men, because most of your clients also are men. So I think that's also a conversation maybe not very often men and women have this kind of conversation. So I found it like
Yeah.
very interesting for us to bring this and maybe give a bit of an insights for men and women into how we think and help them as well in their relationship with themselves and also with each other, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So yeah, I'm very
Yeah.
happy to break it down today.
Okay, the stage is yours. Let's start this conversation. And if we get any questions, I'll just comment on them. And yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah, amazing. So when we decided to do this workshop, I was thinking, okay, what could I bring to the table? What could I add to that workshop? And I thought about my previous life, because I know we've talked together, right? We talk about past life, previous life, right? When we were still in business, in corporate, doing all the things, working without really thinking about our well-being. And I thought about that moment where I was working so many hours. I was trying to do all the things. I was overwhelmed. And I think a part of me was always waiting for somebody to tell me, Anne, you've done enough, like today is enough. Go home, go to your family, rest a bit. But that moment would never come, and it's never coming, right? And when I say that, it resonates with many people, because I think a part of us is always waiting to be approved, to be valued. And in this case, it's the relationship with work, but it also comes down to how we feel about ourselves and the relationship with ourselves, right? So it's why that topic matters to me so much. And it's so nice that we can have that different lenses today, more of the feminine side and the masculine side. So
Do you think that we don't respect ourselves much or enough to tell ourselves that, you know, today was enough. I need to do other things as well.
I think it's a learning curve. When I look at myself, I certainly didn't know how to do that. I certainly chased this through validation, external validation, and being seen and looking for praises and all of that. And I guess most of it comes from the way we were raised. So for me, I really see that. And when I shared that with that group of women, it resonated also with many of them.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And I was thinking that for me, for many years, being in the business, it was about getting the approval and the respect from others, especially my father, I will say, because he was the head of the business and the head of the family. And that dependence was not, it was driving energy away from myself, you know, because I didn't have an honest relationship with myself, an honest talk with myself about what my interpretation is about success, about being okay, because I had other role models.
Mm-hmm. I think it will all really be depending on how it was for us. So like what I'm going to share is three truths that I see happening, but then it's very, very important to look at how it was for us. So it might be that part will resonate. It might be that because of your own upbringing, something will resonate and something will not. But I feel a lot comes down, as you were saying, to the way we were raised. So it's part of the talk that I gave as well. It really comes down to what did I learn, what did I see, and what did I repeat until I understand I was repeating it, right? Which is, I understand also the path we're on, you and I. It's like we were doing it until one day we started to question, why am I doing that? For who, right?
Yeah. Do you find that women, because you work with women, do they have a really difficult time accepting themselves and being honest with themselves?
I think, again, this will come down to, and I know you follow a lot, Tony Robbins as well. And he usually asks one question, which is, who did you have to be for your mom and who did you have to be for your dad? And I guess what I see is that, you know, as a kid, you had to do something to be loved, to be approved, to be valued, to have your place within the family, to belong. But then we grow up, we go into the world, and we're like, okay, this worked at home, so I'm going to do exactly the same in the workplace. I'm going to be in the workplace the same way I was with my dad. It most certainly was exactly what I did, which was to do all the things, be perfect, be everywhere, be doing all, to get the same approval or to fit in or to be valued. So I guess depending on who you had to be at home or with your caregivers, depending on the story of each of us, then we go to the world and we think, oh, it worked at home, so it will work out there as well. So until we observe and ask the question, we're going to do that. And what we tend to see is a lot of women that I speak to were raised to be independent, to own, to earn their own money, to not depend on men. So there's a lot of push as well on that masculine side of women, which in the end depletes a lot. And that's what tends to happen year by year. So when you ask me, is it difficult for them? And do I see it like as a big challenge? Yes, I do. I do.
Yeah. Because you need a different skill set to deal with so many different characters in the workplace, and suddenly the family dynamics change. And if you work in a family business, as I did, I think there's nothing that's gonna scare you after having 10, 15, 20 years working with your family. I mean, it's like the Harvard school, and once you graduate from those dynamics within the family business, everything else is just, like a nice game. But most people don't get to do that. They get to leave their comfort zone, and then they need to start building relationships from scratch with different dynamics, with a higher difficulty to get seen, get heard, being valued, because a corporate environment can be really harsh.
Yes. What I think is like, when we talk about relationship, most of the time I ask that question, like, what do you think when I say relationship? And most of the people would straight away think about family and about work, right? They wouldn't think about not much more, right? Friends, that kind of thing. And if we look at the word relationship, it's basically everything you feel, you think, the way you act around anything or anyone. So when we talk about relationship and when we look at our life, we can think of family, as we were saying, we can think about work, we can think about children, we can think about our body, we can think about money, which is a bigger one as well. We can think about our age, which comes out a lot with women, and especially in the fertility space, as you were saying before, which is where I work a lot with women as well. We can think about our mental health, about overwhelm, about burnout, that I know, so you work a lot on that. And it's even like the relationship we have with our phone, with social media. We're on social media right now. So it's like everything that we do, and we spend the whole day in relationship with different things.
Yeah.
And what I see is that, of course, like the first thing that comes to mind is usually the relationship with the partner. And it's usually the one that comes to mind because it's the most challenging, or with work as well. So we tend to focus on those, but we don't understand that everything is a relationship.
Yeah.
And it all comes down to the relationship with ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
So let's take examples. You were speaking about, working in a family business as well. So let's say within your family, you have the role of the person that takes care of everyone. Like you're the savior within the family, because we all have different roles, right? We're either the perfect one or the crazy one, or the one that takes care of everybody. Then if that's the definition I have with regards to the relationship with myself, which is, okay, I am valuable if I help the family, if I make myself available, if I'm the one that makes people stick together, I'm the one who repairs the relationship, then it shows up at work, in the family business. But primarily, it's how I see myself. It's how I talk to myself from the inside. So it's really important to understand that any sentence that we usually say within our head. It doesn't have to be something we say to others, but any pattern that we see repeating in terms of how we see ourselves, how we deal with certain situations or relationship, that will tend to be a reflection of something I think about myself. So I think something that can help people is to try and see what's the most difficult relationship that shows up in their life, and then understand what's the story they're telling themselves. And I'm curious as I say that, if you're okay to share, what do you think was your role within that family business and the way you related with your family and work?
Yeah. To be honest, I think that not building an honest relationship with myself, I couldn't build an honest and respectful relationship with others around me. And that consumed me. And what you said earlier about people trying to live within that role throughout the years, they create such an image about themselves that could be far away from their true self. And the further they consume themselves in that role they get, the more difficulties they have in life. And at some point, it's not working anymore. I mean, the system, the body, the mind, it's like shortening the circuits. And what do you do when you reach that point?
So what I would tend to say is the first step will be to observe that. So most of us, because we've learned to act and react a certain way, as you were saying, that's the defense mechanism, right? That's where it's easy for me, even it's not, but it is. It's easy, but it doesn't mean that I'm happy there. It just means that I'm used to be there and I know how to fight that battle. So we tend to stay there. The first thing is, once you question something, you start to create a moment where maybe you don't need that anymore. So I would say managing to observe, as you were saying, okay, I have that pattern. I react this way because I have this kind of relationship with myself, and this impacts the relationship I have with others. And maybe that came at a point where you wanted to build truthful relationships, and you understood in order to be able to do that, I have to be different, right? Because we tend to see that others need to change. And so it's not easy to understand that, oh, this is an impact, or this is the impact because of how I feel about things within. So I think the first thing is really observing what's happening. And there's two sides of that. I can think that this is because of me and I've done something bad and it's all because of what I did, or I can see that, and that's what you were saying at the beginning, right? It's either I go and continue and do the same forever, or I decide to do something different. So the other side will be, I see the impact of what I used to do. And so if I do something different, then I'll have a different impact. And it doesn't mean that straight away everything will work out, but at least you're trying, you're changing, and you're seeing how's the impact of maybe speaking to yourself differently, or treating yourself differently, or having a different inner conversation, or maybe not criticizing yourself so much, or because it's, human beings are negative and this is what made us survive. So
Yeah.
it was very important. Today it's not as much. So it's really understanding that we don't need to keep doing the same thing. And I have an example that comes to mind, and this is really for women. And I think it's important for me to share that, because sometimes men don't understand that. Most of us, we were raised in a way that we needed to fear what's outside. Fear the masculine, be the masculine, because the masculine can do you harm. So this is coming to mind now. And it can be other things as well. So I see so many women that put on an armor before they go out, before they go out of the house. So it's like, maybe I won't need it, but I'm going to put it anyway. So if I put my armor and I'm ready for the fight and for the war every time I go out of the house, I'm going to see that fight and that war everywhere. So I'm going to bring this kind of energy with me wherever I go. And this is why it's so important that we have this armor. Of course, we need it, but we put it on, in the pocket. And if we need it, then we have it. But if we go out in the world with that kind of vision and expecting the worst, then usually that tends to happen. And this is where we're going to focus our eyes. So I think really observing that we're doing that and starting to question, do I really need that? Is it really useful? Is it really helping me or not? Is it impacting my relationship? As you were saying, right, it was impacting your relationship. Then maybe that's the point where we start changing something. How do you feel about that?
I was just thinking that men have probably a simpler way of looking at things, which is, I'm a provider. I just need to get some respect of all the hard work I put into things. And if something doesn't serve me, I'm not going to think about it that much. And if there's something I don't want to do, I'm going to just not going to do it, and I don't care. But I think for women, because they need in modern society to be in so many roles within the day, just within the day, I mean, be the professional at work, going to fight in meetings, be a mother, be a lover, be, a house assistant. All these things within the day that require different dynamics and a different composure in mentality. I have the sense that it's a lot more difficult for women than men.
I feel what you mean. And I think we crave so much your simplicity. I think it's like, so many women would tell you, I go home and I have so many things to do. And my husband, when he gets home, he just sits on the sofa for like half an hour.
Yeah.
And like, it's two sides of the same coin, right? There's always two sides of the story. And that's what I like to work on as well, to observe that. There's a way of thinking, well, I'm doing so much and he's doing nothing. Or it's to understand, maybe it's showing something that I should be doing as well. Maybe not so much, maybe differently, but maybe I should rest. Maybe I should allow myself to also, just sit for a few minutes. But then it's the thing, do I allow myself? Do I feel guilt if I do that? So all of the conversation that then we have within ourselves for doing or not doing something. But it's like we crave so much that simplicity. Yeah.
I think that on the other hand, men do have a problem which is very similar. And it's that by putting on that armor you talked earlier, they don't have an honest conversation with themselves in exploring other aspects of their lives because it's not allowed, it's not appropriate within the environment or the friends they have. So I think that's where men are lacking this going deeper to understand their own emotions and get in touch maybe with their feminine sides, which is not something bad. I mean, there's a lot of misconception, I believe, with this feminine energy. But it's something that I think it's necessary to have a better balance within you.
I'm really liking spaces that are starting to be created for men, which are either communities, and I see that a lot. Also, the impact of what you're saying for couples on the fertility journey, where I see women that tend to talk a lot with their friends and with other women in communities. They won't talk to their partner because they don't want to they don't want them to be preoccupied about how they feel and how they are doing. And then men would tend to do exactly the same, right? They cope themselves. I need to be a certain way. I need to be there. I need to not show my feelings, and this tends to make them close off when maybe they don't need to open. I guess, men don't need to open as much as women because we're made completely differently. But I feel also it must be like very heavy on men as well, that part of having to always put a mask on and show up as everything's fine and everything's perfect and I don't have feelings and I don't cry and I'm a big boy. And yeah.
I think men in general, they don't have the right words to express themselves in matters that women are more focused on. So what I said earlier about not being honest within yourself and about the relationship you have with yourself, being softer on yourself, touching more on your feminine energy, understanding your emotions, because men usually don't do that. When a woman is going, whatever issue they want to talk about, if men don't go through that process, they can't talk about it, they don't have the right words, they can't express their emotions, their thoughts. So they build a kind of wall. Don't talk to me. I hear you, I don't understand you. You talk, that's enough, I don't need to reply. So that creates even more tension. But if there's one advice I would like to give all men listening on this live is, guys, you need to talk more. You need to hear and talk more, be more understanding and more compassionate. It's a game changer. And I wish I knew it earlier because I was like that.
And when you say that, I'm curious, Polis, how did you see doing this differently change? Or what was the impact of you doing that?
The impact was that I had a more open and honest relationship with my wife to begin with, and then the people I care about around me. So I wouldn't hold anything inside anymore. But on the other hand, I will find a healthy way to express what I felt. Because if you keep it inside too much, it will go out as anger, as a resentment. Mm-hmm. And then you regret what you say. But if you're honest with yourself, you explore those feelings, you understand them, it's a slow process. It doesn't happen within a day or two. Then you can find the right words to express yourself, being understood and then understand others. And then you find common ground. And then others will hopefully appreciate your honesty. Sometimes this honesty, if it comes from a place of expressing your values, it will drive people away because you are not the same person anymore, and they cannot easily manipulate you, because you are transforming. So this is a transformative experience.
It's funny that you say that, because you made me think about some of the women I work with, and I'm thinking about one in particular. And we had been working together maybe for 1 month, and she came to me and she said, "Anne, I think I'm becoming a bad person." And I said, "Why? Explain to me what's happening." And she said, "Well, I'm invited to go to that place and I'm saying no. I have a friend I would usually go to for coffee, and I don't feel like going there anymore, so I said no." And I said, "Yeah, in the end, you're putting yourself first, and you're asking yourself if you want to be in those environments and in these places and with these people." And she said, "Yes." And I said, "Well, that's what's happening. You're putting yourself first. What's changing is you're not following what they want. You're finally following what you want. But in that process, because of the feedback that we get, and because we tend to be a bit negative about ourselves," she was like, the first thing that came to mind was, "I'm becoming a bad person."
Yeah. I think the moment we start respecting ourselves more, it's when others will start respecting us more, because we set healthy boundaries for ourselves and what we allow coming in and then what goes out. And my question now is, if you find through your experience that this is what holds women back in terms of these suppressed emotions, this trauma, this role playing that is not healthy. Do you find that this is constraining women from having a healthier lifestyle, being fertile, being able to have children? Because we so often hear that stress, anxiety, and when you are not yourself, you have anxiety. When you don't follow your own values, your own truth, you have anxiety, and it builds up. Is this something that you see often?
If we would come down to one thing, stress is everywhere when something's not working properly, right? Even when somebody doesn't sleep properly, it's just a symptom that something's off, and usually it will be linked to stress or anxiety. So on the fertility journey, because we hear so much like, don't stress, whatever. I know women hate this kind of conversation. So because it looks so easy, right? Just don't stress and this will happen. And it's not exactly like that. But truth is, stress is in every, trauma linked. I don't really like this word because it doesn't have to be a big trauma, but it will be everywhere when something is off, as you were saying, right? When you're not yourself, when you're following priorities that others have given to you, it will come every time. So I think what happens is, because you take that role very early on in life, you're so used to put those clothes on, right? They fit you. You're so used to them that you think it's you. And if you were to take those clothes off, it would be very, very scary, because you don't know what's below all of those layers, right? So I think it's not easy to do that process of starting to question everything. And usually what I see, it doesn't have to be like that, but that's what I see a lot. It's usually when we go through a lot of pain, when we decide to, maybe life doesn't have to be this way. Maybe there's something else. Let's open a door that's different to what the doctor or the clinic show me straight away. So it really needs to come, like nobody will take that decision for us, right? We really had to take that decision and question, not knowing what was on the other side, being scared to look at things. And so, but there's always two decisions, right? Either I stay in that comfortable and comfortable place, but at least I know how to fight that fight, right? As I was saying before, I'm used to that. It's painful, but I know how to deal with that situation. Or I go to the unknown. That's really, really scary, right? So I feel that that it can impact everything. Of course, it can impact fertility, but it can impact any other thing. It can impact how much you grow in the business, because the business is a reflection of who you are. It will impact your relationship with your partner. It will impact how you relate to your friends. It will impact how creative you are, or how far you can go in terms of your objectives. It can impact your health. It can impact your emotions, your state of mind. So all of this will have various impacts. Then it will depend. Each of us have different impacts, right? And what I see is that when you get to a point where it's the fertility side that is challenged, then it means that the body has been crying or screaming for quite a long time. So it's usually something that's not, it didn't happen last month or last year. It's usually decades that are building one on top of the other. And yes, this impacts many things, and then it will all depend on the person, really.
Yeah. And we usually, after we get into that mode, we try to cure the symptoms and not the root cause. So I find that it's really exciting times that we live in, because on the one hand, we stress and stretch ourselves so much. I was just reading today that 44% of Cypriots have been in a burnout mode, okay? And it's almost 1 in every 2. And once we get into that mode, it's not easy to get out of, because it creates a health issue. You go to the doctor, you get a pill, you try to fix the symptom, but you go into that situation again. You get exhausted, you get sick for a week, then you go back, you work the same way, you think the same way, you live the same way, and then 6 months later, a year later, you're in the same position. And there's so much work to be done within. And I think more and more people are realizing it. Maybe not enough yet, but I think there's a movement of people tending to look for other solutions as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I see that totally. And like in my practice, Police, to be honest, I work with hypnosis, and people who tend to have been on a psychotherapy journey and talking therapy journey for years before they decide to open a different door. So this is what tends to happen. People have been trying to do all the things, and it's like this last hope. Let's try something completely different. So that's usually what tends to happen, and I hope we can manage to change things as well as we talk more and are more present online and really can help people in a different way. With regards to what you say, I have quite a few examples of women, and I shared that during that workshop, where I said that I tend to see women that come to me with a burnout, similar situation, and they've decided, okay, I'm going to change everything. I'm going to change cities, or I'm going to change countries, or I'm going to change jobs, and I'm going to change sector or anything. And six months down the line, that's what I see as well. So they changed everything.
Mm.
And for some miracle situation, they managed to recreate exactly the same situation they were in six months ago. And I really like to, in my work, I really hear the words people say. And I remember one woman I worked with, and she said to me, "Yeah, but Anne, they put me straight away on a pedestal in that company." So she was very happy because she had got the best job, like a better job, better pay, everything. But she started to make herself indispensable to everybody within the company. So she would start to do things that were not hers, but she felt like she needed to thank everyone and help everyone. And she managed to recreate a situation that she didn't want. But because she thought it was a pedestal and she wasn't enough for that job, then she managed to recreate the same exact situation.
Yeah.
And one example comes to me as well, which relates to that and relationships. I remember Simon Sinek, so he doesn't really talk about relationships, right? But I remember once he said that he had failed several times in relationships and in marriage, I think. And he said, what's the common thread in all of these situations? He said, it's me. So like, if I don't change, and if I take the exact same self to every relationship, whether work, whether within marriage or anything, then if I don't change, then the tendency is for things to repeat. So it's not easy, and I'm very happy he shared that, because it's also a way people sharing that help us understand, oh, maybe if I'm in a similar situation, maybe it's because I need to change something within myself. But sometimes we're so much in the do automatic life that we don't take time to stop and really try to observe what's happening, observe what the pattern is, and the talking that happens within ourselves, right? The one that nobody knows about. How do I feel about myself? Do I feel I'm not enough? Do I feel I always have to do more than others to be valuable? And I think that also happens a lot for women in the depending on the work, obviously, but there's a lot of things where I have felt in the past that I needed to be a man to be accepted within my workplace. So that also can be at play.
Yeah. I have found out that people in general, once they have a fixated idea about themselves or about a situation, they will do anything to validate that thought they have about themselves or that situation. And they will ignore the facts. They will ignore the truth. They will ignore their own emotions because they want to feel like they are heard, they've been seen, they've been valued. And once you go down that road to feel a certain way, live in a certain way, think in a certain way, it's not easy to come back from it. It's not easy to think differently. It's not easy to look at the truth and admit, I've been wrong. And I always have a discussion with a friend, and we say that reality is not something we can fully experience. We live in the same island, in the same neighborhood. We go to similar jobs. But what you focus on, it might be all the wrong things going around. What I focus on may be all the nice things going around me. So we have a totally different experience, totally different thoughts, totally different emotions. And our experience of life changes. And you know, that follows a certain energy pattern as well. And that energy pattern, maybe it's, you call it your aura, the vibe. It's something that people realize, people around you, they realize, and they want to get associated with. So you attract like-minded people, like energy people. And I find that people who don't focus on the beautiful things, people who don't reinforce themselves with positive emotions, bringing their energy high, smile, are the ones that usually have the biggest problems.
Yeah, I feel like I have a lot of things that came to mind as you were speaking, and I heard once that we see 1% of reality. So it's like I see 1% and you see 1%, and maybe there's part of it that's common, but another part won't be. But at the same time, there's 99% of other possible, alternative realities that we can look at. So if I look only at that, the rest doesn't even exist, right? So something that I like is, of course, if you, like we were saying, right? If we go out with an armor, then we're ready for war, and we'll, have our eyes focused on being prepared for something. So if I'm prepared, I want that thing to happen, right? I'm basically expecting it to happen at every road.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I would like to say to women, I heard it once, and it really, I quite liked to hear it myself, which is, and again, there's two sides of it. When you see something that, like a quality in another person, or something that you find beautiful, it's because it's in your 1%. It's within your 1%. So if you see it, it's because something within you mirrors that feeling. So if you see in a role model or in a friend that they have something you think you don't have, you're only seeing it because you have it. Maybe it's not developed. Maybe it's very very raw, but it's there.
Yeah.
And so this is the really good thing, and we need to remember that. And the other side of the coin is the same way. If reality is reflecting things that you don't like, then maybe it's mirroring things that you need to look at, but not. Again, we don't have to look at it in a negative way. We can just look at it as feedback. Okay, so I don't like that thing. So maybe what can I work on myself? I don't like to say work because it's too much work. We need to simplify things. But what can I change in my daily life? Or how can I look at this a different way if I can't change it? Or how can I change that so that I don't have this reaction anymore? So I think looking at things as feedback can be a really good way of not having so much reaction in a negative way, but just saying, oh, this is information. Okay, let me see. Can I change it? Okay, if I can change it, I change it. If I can't change it, then maybe I need to decide that I'm gonna have a different reaction around that or act a different way. How do you feel about that?
I totally agree. What I was thinking was that at certain times, I find myself trying to reevaluate my beliefs, okay? Because you do all this work to improve yourself, and you try to be the best version of yourself. But there are so many challenges around us that we sometimes may fall back, okay? And I found out that it's easy to fall back, actually. And I try always, I don't succeed 100%, but it's like I've built an internal ladder, you know? And when I fall back, I try to fall back on the previous step and not down the ladder. So it's like putting a small safety net for myself, where if I fall back, something will snap, and I get a little voice in my head saying, this is it. Don't go below. Reevaluate, restructure, think about it, and come back stronger. And I think that this is building mentality, you know. And I found out that this is coming from a place of self-love. Because if you love yourself, you will not be too hard on yourself when you fall a step back. But exactly because you love yourself, you want to continue on your own path without any distractions. And I don't know if it's something that, you know, has a lot of difference between men and women, to be honest. But I think it's something that every person should work with.
What comes to mind when you share that is also the fact that once you see something, you can't unsee it. So it's like I think we all come to work on something very specific. So let's say your main challenge is confidence. It's just an example. This challenge will follow you your whole life. At different stages, in different ways. But usually these challenges that we have will tend to show up at every cap. So you work on that cap, oh, all good, all good, all good. And then you get to threshold where, oh, it shows again.
Yeah.
And what's very important in that is that in your situation, Polis, you manage to understand that you're not back to the beginning. Maybe you have a wobbly moment, but you have acquired some knowledge and some things that you can't unsee and go back to the very beginning, right? But it's, you know, life will happen. And I tell that to all the women I speak with and I work with. I can never promise that, you know, everything's going to be like a blue sky and all nice and easy. Life is not like that, and it's not meant to be. It's meant to be full of challenges. So the thing is really how you react to that, and how are you compassionate with yourself. So I know self-love is a big topic. It's also a topic I'm clearly working on in my own life. But it's like, it's understanding every time you go through a challenge, just understand, you know, maybe in the past you would take 1 month to come back from that challenge, but maybe today you just take 1 week, and maybe in a few years you will only take 1 day. So that's the important thing, is not thinking, oh, all over again, that confidence problem is coming back in that example. But it's really understanding, okay, how am I dealing with it? How am I different today than I was before?
Yeah.
And I think that gives you confidence as well to understand, oh, but I have gained a lot of knowledge that will never make me go back to that situation where I was before, and putting again all of those masks as you had before. So I think that's amazing that you're managing to see that, because it's also a way of reinforcing that you've done quite a good job.
Yeah, I mean, it took me like, since I decided to leave the family business, do my own thing, which was my thinking after the Tony Robbins event, I was in 2018. I was like, it doesn't matter exactly what I do, as long as I follow my purpose. And it took, I think, probably 6 years where I was in a 2-gear mode. One was creating a new life, and the other gear was managing the old life to complete its circle and go away. It wasn't easy. It was very challenging, but it was exactly through this process that I've learned the skills that I have today. And once you see this difficulty as an opportunity to redefine yourself, rediscover yourself, review what's good for you, what's not good for you, and build a new, I will call it, relationship contract, like you said earlier, not only with yourself, not only with the people around you, but with work, life balance, money, situations, etc., etc. That's when things really start to change, and that's when you really start to enjoy the fruits of the work you've done. So it's a slow process. Miracles don't happen overnight, and we shouldn't underestimate the work we do, the people that are willing to help us navigate through this difficult situation. Mm-hmm. And there is always light at the end of the tunnel, and you should stick to your path and not give up.
That's a beautiful message. And Polis, actually, I have a question that comes to mind, because there's something with women that I see, and I'm curious to know how you feel about that. So I see that women, we've been like really led to be independent and not depend on anyone, and create our own life and earn our own money. And then it's very difficult for a lot of women to take the hand of somebody and ask for help, whether it's therapy, whether it's any other thing. So it's like, I'm only valuable if I do it myself. And that's why we tend to push and push and push until overwhelmed, burnout, and like depression and that kind of thing. So, and then in those moments of pain, that will be the moment where we decide, okay, let's have some help. But maybe we don't need to get to that point to think, okay, maybe I can, somebody can help me in this moment before I am without managing to function. How do you feel that works for men?
I would say it's even more difficult for men to ask for help, because they are not expected to, they are not used to, they are not, they are willing to go the extra mile to acquire new skills, to be better at work, but as long as it serves that purpose of providing, but not when it comes to find that peace of mind, to redefine the relationship with themselves, with their partner. It's even more difficult for men. But it's something that, again and again, I would argue that we need more of it. We need a lot more of it, because if women are like that and men are like that, it's no wonder that relationships don't last.
Yeah, I feel what you say. It's like we're both on our sides pushing so much, expecting something to shift, expecting the other one to change and complete me and be whatever I need when I'm not even myself that for myself, right? So I want the other one to, you know, understand that I need their help, but I'm not even hearing myself and being able to sit on the sofa for 5 minutes and rest, because then I will feel guilt. So it's like, yeah, that's, I think communication is a miracle within couples, clearly. But yeah, I think it's very important also to observe and understand that we don't need to really get into that place that, you know, the doctor is the only solution, the pill is the only solution. Of course, we're so lucky that we have that, and sometimes it's needed, and everything has its place, really. But there's no need to get into that so difficult space to look for help, ask for help, and get help. And it doesn't have to take years. It doesn't have to be so complicated. I think that's really important that, you know, we spread this message somehow, that there are solutions and that there are ways, whatever, you know, there's so many therapies and coaching skills and everything that people can access. It's really understanding, okay, what do you feel you need, and but not staying in that solo trying to make things work and then having an impact on every relationship, at work, at home, with the kids. Because when you're not feeling well inside, you're not gonna help anyone around you. You're not gonna help your family. You're not gonna be 100% at work. That's impossible if inside you're not feeling good about yourself, and if the inner talk and is full of inner critic, basically, that will impact everything.
Yeah, I would say that there's so much noise nowadays, and with technology being so easy, so accessible, social media, artificial intelligence, it's pushing people, I would say, involuntary many times, to seek, you know, either meaning or companionship or anything else through their screen, through their phone. And that stimulates the brain, and it takes away peace and quiet, rest for the mind. And it takes away precious time for us to really reconnect with the people around us and enhance our relationships. And it seems that we live in a time where we have a therapy for everything, a pill for everything, and yet we don't understand that we don't need to reach that point to need the therapy, to need the pill, to need the doctors. Small daily changes over time will rebalance us, will make us whole again, will make us human again, will rewire our brain, our physiology, our emotions, and live this amazing experience we have with the people we care about.
Yeah, for sure. And it's like when I have an analogy, which is when you look at your house and you feel like you need to tidy the whole house to feel like it's tidied, you don't even want to start, because it looks like you're going to spend the whole week just doing that. So you'd rather not do anything. But then if you start, oh, today I'm going to tidy that drawer, and tomorrow I'm going to tidy that corner, and the other day I'm going to tidy a bit more. I think we need to start really dividing things in chunks. And maybe it's just, oh, today I call myself stupid because I let the coffee fell on the floor. That's the easiest thing, right? You do something, oh, stupid me, whatever. And next time I won't call myself stupid. I will say, okay, that's okay. That's okay. Maybe just that will make your whole day different. Maybe it's saying no when, you know, when you wanted to say yes, but you felt it was not really what you wanted, just saying no. Maybe just a small thing that you do, but respecting yourself more than you respect the other person. Yeah. Because I think we've learned at a very young age to respect everyone, right? We see kids stuck at the dinner table with grown-ups, and the kid has eaten and just wants to go play. No, but you want dessert? You stay here. You respect the big ones. So like very early on, we've learned that first you respect others, and then you respect yourself, or then you never respect yourself. And then we grow up and we do exactly that. Oh, how can I respect you? How can I, but where am I in that picture? I don't exist. I'm not respecting myself. Yeah. So maybe just one decision where you respect yourself a bit more than you respect the other, maybe just that is enough to start. Yeah. I think this is a really important and really nice message for our video today, to start respecting ourselves more, valuing ourselves more, and make small changes in order to live a healthier life, build healthier relationships. And I would add to succeed in life within our own interpretation of success. Whatever it is for everybody, it's not the same for everyone. So we will feel complete and happy. Amazing. So, Anne-Marie, thank you so much for being in this live with me today. I think we need to repeat it again because there are so many things we can talk about. And for everybody watching and for everybody not watching, this video will be shared on other platforms as well, so they can see and hear our discussion and get some benefit out of it, because things are not as tragic as you might think. Things can always be better if you want it to. Thank you so much, Police. It was really, really lovely to speak to you today, and I hope people will get a lot out of our discussion and that view on both how men and women see things differently or the same. Yeah, and so many common ground for both of us, both men and women, and so much distance to cover because we need to be closer together. Exactly. Thank you so much. Thank you very much. Everyone. Thank you for everybody watching. Have a nice evening. Bye-bye.